methodology, isn't it? They do that a lot in cycling as well. So there's a chance that you're right there, because they tend to rotate, switch around every, 2, 3, 4 laps or so, and give the other car the opportunity to lead for a little while.
It's even achievable for a moment here at the Nürburgring in this 24-hour race. You can push, and I think they're managing a very, very high-speed pace here, managing the lead of this race as a team. But that was a good point, and it's a good theory from Hindhoff, as he's gone for his supper, that they were assisting one another by swapping places and taking a turn at the front. That means the car following in the wake of the slipstream. The science of that is that you're not using as much fuel to power the car through the air. Marginal gains do lead to substantial gains, I suppose, over a long run. But right now, these two in control. They've got a gap, which I'll check, to the third place car, which is the number 34 Volkenhorst Aston Martin Nicky team at the wheel of that car. And then in fourth place, we've got the SPX, the first non-SP9, the SPX Klingman in the BMW M Sport, the M3 Touring that we love so much. That's a little way back in fourth place, but just waiting for the third place car. It's got a substantial gap between the first two Winward team Mercedes to that third place Aston, but we'll confirm that when Nicky team brings that car through.
Hello to Michael in Midhurst, who is in the south of England and absolutely loving this. I think he tuned in just to kind of see what all the fuss was about. Big British Touring Car Championship fan and a follower of Jake Hill, as well as we all are, actually, at the Radio Show Limited network of channels. We had Simon Hill as part of our broadcast of the Spa 12 hours just a handful of weeks ago. And Jake, a 2024 BTCC champion, now making the move across to the longer distance stuff, and he's driving the 18 car. But great to have you still with us. I'm sure you are, Michael. And, well, here's to staying up all night, because he said this is crazy. I never expected it to be quite as addictive, but it certainly is. And there's another 24-hour race coming up next month, by the way, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You might have heard of it. So he's hooked. I'm sure many of you that have never experienced this race before will be immediately hooked, and will be paying attention to this race in forthcoming years as well. Don't forget there's the domestic championship as well, called the Nürburgring Langstrecken Series, which is a series of 4 and a one-off 6-hour race, which we have covered on our network as well through the course of the year. And Maurice Schuring, with that 360-degree high-speed spin and also contact with the barrier, is now nursing the 44 Falcon Motorsports Porsche back to pit lane. But bear in mind, he's only got to the carousel, and now this is the difficult bit, because it's very, very steep up here, and the race cars going normal speed are nipping by on the left. There will be white flags covering this car from the marshal posts, but it's even more difficult to pick those flags out and then ascertain where the car is and what sort of speed it's doing in the darkness hours.
It's going to be very tricky from this point onwards, Johnny. We're at the point of the track where it starts getting very, very narrow, and it's perhaps the most technical part of the track. It's up through out of the right-hander at Hohak. He's heading towards Brunchen, and then on through Plansgarten. But that section of right-handers and left-handers where if you are fractionally offline, so you've got the cars that are coming up on him at very high speed while he limps this car back to the pits. He's still got quite a few kilometres to make up to get that car back. Now then, Morris has found one of the access roads to take a shortcut. From there, he can get onto the public road that runs adjacent, parallel with the Dottinger Ho. That will give him easier access back to the paddock. Now he has just parted, because he's basically got to do a hairpin turn. This is where he'll get some assistance now from the marshals. He's turned it into the gap that leads to the public areas, which subsequently leads onto the public road. So Morris now just trying to do a bit of an Austin Powers and getting the car into reverse. He's going to be doing a bit of an Austin Powers three-point turn here, as we see him trying to get that car through a very, very tight 180 degree. And he's probably saved a lot of consternation if he was to continue. That's what he's been looking out for. And you see the parts of the barrier that are painted in orange, which signifies that is an access point. And the drivers are fully briefed on how to go about this once he can get it through that gap. Still doing an Austin Powers as we get that car turned around and into that gap and be recovered via the use of a recovery vehicle, no doubt.
It feels like Maurice Schuring's been around for a long time. He's still only 21 years old, you know, and from the Netherlands originally, although does a lot of racing worldwide these days. He was a winner at the 2024 24 Hours of Le Mans within category. So that was a terrific result. But Maurice Schuring, look at the dejection. He's turned the engine off. He knows, well, was that his mistake? Because he tripped over one of the BMW Z4s and maybe didn't react quite as quickly to where that Beamer was going. But that's the immediate thing, isn't it? Whether it's your fault or not, you just start to beat yourself up because all of a sudden that's pretty much race over.
And it happened so quickly. You know, we had, who was it that was in earlier? It was Frozen Speed, it was Jochen who said, they seem to be in control. And I thought, touch wood, Jochen, please, because you can be in full control here. And then in an instant, you've got a car that's just, you know, much, much slower. Multi-class racing brings that upon you very, very quickly because the speed difference is massive.
Yeah.
And you're doing 160, 170 miles an hour. The fact the slower classes are doing 125. And that's a massive closing speed, and especially the grip that you get in a GT3 car with all that aero assistance, you can corner massively in comparison to the cars in the lower classes that have no aero and they're slipping and sliding around trying to find the line.
And to add insult to injury, the 44 car's now under investigation for a potential infringement under a Code 60. It kind of doesn't matter because it looks like that car is, if not out of the race, certainly out of contention. Another car that's appeared in front of me as far as the race control messages are concerned is the 145 SP10 car for Bednarski. That's running third in the GT4s. Another BMW M4 Evo this time. So, under investigation, depending on whether it's found to have been speeding and by how much was it speeding, then the penalty can be really quite severe for obvious reasons, because there is a speed limit out on the racetrack. That's entirely for safety, both of driver of a car that's being recovered and, more importantly, of the marshals. So they do rather come down on drivers with a ton of bricks if you're found to have been going too fast through those speed limited areas. And that is Josh Bednarski, who shares with Peter Kate, who we had here in the Global Broadcast Centre not that long ago. Also Tom Schutzer and Jerome Blakemolen in that 145 SP10 BMW. An indication of just how dark it is. Even though there's a lot of floodlighting from the main grandstand on the start-finish straight, the areas of the paddock are plunged into darkness at just after 20 to midnight. Big Wheel still getting a plenty bit of business, though.
Yeah, it'd be blooming cold up there, at the top of there. An interesting point here, I just want to say hello to Gaz Bury, who will be helping get through the night. He's doing his day job, well, actually his night job. He's driving a truck from Peterborough to Warrington.
Cool. Hello, Gaz.
Yes, he said hello. He's the Karting Live TV, and he says when headlights are into the camera, you literally have no definition whatsoever. I mean, mirrors are bad enough, but cameras, I suppose you can. You've just got a bright white screen that you are denoting that you've got someone behind you. What that is behind you, you have no way of making that out. Into that slow zone that we mentioned, Lucas Stoltz on board with him on the stream if you're there, and then just speeds up there, gets the go. He's the one that is in second place, the second place Winward Racing Mercedes, but he's still on the tail of Daniel Giuncadella, who is our overall leader here, and still pulling out and continuing to pull a gap. Last time by, though, they lost some time to the third place Nicky team, Volkenhorst Aston Martin. But that could, of course, just been how they managed the traffic at the time and how they managed the slow zones. Easy to lose time. Got a massive slow zone just out of Brunchen, heading towards the heading towards Flansgarten, which is where we've just seen the two Windward cars negotiate. Traffic creating a problem there for our leaders, just having to back out of the throttle, and almost tripping over some of the back markers. Hard to identify what they are. They're just bright red lights to our leading cars as they come upon them. And usually, Johnny, when you are driving in daylight, the cars of the lower classes kind of develop a character that you've become familiar with.
Yes.
And even more so if you know the driver of that car. It's hard to denote who's driving the car from a car when you're coming up to overtake. However, in the night, all you've got is red lights, and you can't see what car it is, you can't see what sort of class the car is running in, so you can't really see. All you can feel is just how quickly you've come upon the car, where it is on the track. And it basically becomes a bit like a video game where you just have to dodge the red lights in front of you.
I mean, there's a little bit of judgment in, how fast am I catching that car? Am I going to be on top of it by the next corner? Or is it another SP9 car that I'm about to lap, so therefore doing about the same sort of speed as me? And then there's an indication from the marshal posts, potentially, of whether they're getting blue flags very rapidly, because blue flags work the same in most other areas of motor racing as well, i.e. there's a quicker car coming through, hold your line, try and make space for it where it's safe to do so. But yeah, SP9 catching an SP9 car that's about to be lapped, that's a much narrower speed differential as the 821 Audi is serviced. This is the team nameless Audi RS3. Many of these crews entered just privately under the guise of the drivers rather than a strict team name, and that is Mats Heidler, René Steiger, Stefan Epp and Alexander Weber in their SP3T Audi RS3. Just wanted to mention a problem for the 577, which, now was that gearbox problems for a car that I just identified a moment or two ago. 577 is an entry from Asbest Racing, and it pitted not that long ago, yes, with gearbox problems. There was also a significant penalty for Maximilian Arnold from the 415 Porsche 911 Carrera. So the race number is 415. This was caught speeding during a double yellow flag period, resulting in an 86-second stop-and-go penalty. And the fact that it's a stop-and-go penalty means that you can't serve it during a standard pit stop like the 81 M3 Touring is currently doing. So that's a deliberate visit to the pits, sit there for almost a minute and a half, and go again. So again, a severe breach of the double yellow waved flags, and the officials quite rightly stamped down on that. Looks like brand new Yokohama Advan tyres for this weird looking estate. I mean, it's not a weird street car, it's perfectly at home on the roads, but to see it racing here at the Nordschleife, you sort of have to take a double or triple take, but it is testament to those Yokohama tyres, particularly, to perform so well.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is a good advert for Yokohama tyres to have that car up there. That car looks like a shopping car when it's parked up, Johnny, but out on the track when it's performing out there, that is one of the prettiest race cars we've got here. Got a question for you that you might have looked up. I've been trying to find the answer to this statistic for the last 6 hours probably. Martin Pearson, hello Martin, one of our members of our iRacing COVID League, who asked, is this the largest GT3 field that we've had in this race, or is this the largest GT3 field? I think we've had a very large GT3 field at the Spa 24 hours. But we'll try and find the answer to that, Martin, if anyone does know the answer to that one.
At this
certainly on the collective, they might know.
They might know, yes. At this specific race, it's certainly a recent high, because the amount of GT3 cars, well, the amount of total cars was capped at 150. And, I mean, according to my screen, well, it's 40 odd. I think it's 41 SP9 cars. Bear in mind that for the eligibility of top qualifying 3, you could also run the SPX, SP Pros, SP11, of which we don't have any, but that was a Category 4 GT2 cars. So there was a potential for as many as 49 cars in the top qualifying one session that happened yesterday. Feels like it was last week now. I mean, 40-odd cars, all in the GT3 category, is a phenomenal entry. But I would be surprised if it's a record, because we used to get about the same, if not slightly more, before that entry was capped. And this race, by the way, has run in the past with over 200 cars, would you believe?
Yeah.
230 odd, I think it is.
Yeah.
With every single garage having to house as many as 7 cars in a garage which is sort of designed to be a Formula 1 pit garage and house 1 car. So when you've got 7 squeezed in between the narrow, what feels like very, very narrow area, and they all work around one another with great respect as well.
Certainly messes with my OCD. If you are new to this race, and I know we've got a lot of new fans being dragged along to see Mr. Verstappen and how he does on his sports car journey, you'll have seen that, you know, usually one team per garage, maximum of 2 cars, maybe even 1 car per garage. Certainly from where Max comes from in his day job, 1 car per garage. But here at the Nürburgring 24 hours, we've got teams that have to share with other teams. You've got at least 4, maybe 5 cars that are in those garages, and we cram them in there, giving the teams very little room to do any major work on those cars. But it's a complete cleanse of the mind and the culture, if you're the sort of person like I am, who likes their own garage and their own flooring down and the presentation boards around, making the garage look all sweet and nice for you. Well, cleanse your mind of all things that, because you just can't. You can't do that. You've got to make it very practical, very operational, and with the teams cooperating and probably assisting and helping out one another as well, Johnny. We've seen that many times.
Well, because everyone knows, you know, what it's like to have a drama in the middle of the race, and if your car's going okay, maybe you're in the middle of an 8-lap stint and hopefully you're not going to see the car for another half an hour or so, then yeah, absolutely start helping out your fellow runners. Now, this is not what we like to see for Jutta Racing with their number 8 Audi. Elia Earhart's been driving it for the last stint. But it's having to be pushed into the garage for some extra attention. Actually, it's not made the garage, has it? So maybe I'm creating a bit of a drama out of nothing here. They would certainly focus on the front left corner, but it might be possible to weave this all into their scheduled pit stop. Again, torches required. And that's not where you'll find the engine, folks, because this is a mid-engine car, the 5.2-litre V10 of the Audi R8, the venerable Audi R8 these days. But clearly there is clearly an issue, maybe with the steering, maybe with the cooling of the brakes, and that, I think, is Lithuanian being spoken, because Jutta Racing of Lithuania, and they bring a big support crew with them as well. This is customer racing in a nutshell, Joe, because Audi Sport kind of don't exist at a GT3 level anymore, but they do have plenty of cars in the race privately run.
And the thing that the biggest factor here is how big is their spares box? Have they got enough spares to rectify whatever it is they've found there? And it's probably something, maybe a bent steering connection, or a suspension arm, or a broken damper. They've spotted something under that front right wheel arch. The driver probably reporting a little bit of a gremlin. And when the team have inspected it, that's why the car has been pushed backwards into the garage. And you saw the cramped conditions there that these mechanics are going to be working under. They'll do a fine job, and probably do the job much quicker than you can with your local Audi dealer. If you pulled your R8 in there for a suspension issue and a damper change, you'd be lucky to get it back the next day. Well, we'll have that out in a few minutes if we can, and if it's just a bolt-on, bolt-off, or should say bolt-off, bolt-on component, then the team will be rectifying that and getting that car back out into the race. But I didn't understand a word of Lithuanian, Johnny. It's not a language that I'm familiar with.
Da.
Oh, really? Is that it?
Well, I imagine that. I would think that's yes. It is in a lot of the countries in that region, but that's all I would know. What's Lithuanian for yes, is what I mean to say.
Yes. Dar.
I think it's Dar.
Yeah.
But if you know any different, at RSL_studio with the hashtag RSLN24. Are you watching in Lithuania right now, in Kaunas maybe, or somewhere else far-flung? Be great to hear from you. And maybe you were able to detect precisely what they were saying to one another down at Jutta Racing to know precisely what the problem is. But they do now need to wheel that car into the garage, and what that enables the team to do is to put more mechanics on it, because there is a rule about how many can cross that solid white and very wide, sorry, red and wide line is what I'm trying to say. And that's all about safety again, because although the team, as I say, it's a smallish team from Jutta Racing, there's got to be about 7 or 8 guys on it, and they can't all be on the car when it is on the pit lane apron, just in front of the garage.
I think, Johnny, that well, we were right in suspecting that it was suspension. Now, those big billeted bits of aluminium, that's a laser setup equipment that will align the front and rear tyres to one another. The old style would be 2 bars across the a bar across the front, a bar across the back, and a string of thread parallel to one another on the left and right side. Well, that laser equipment does it for you. They're basically doing a realignment job, which indicates to me that that left-hand front has had some damage to the suspension. So they're renewing the suspension components, so they have to reset the length of the steering rod, the length of the bottom arm, the top wishbone, altering the alignment on the 4 wheels. It's a very quick job with that equipment. As you can see, the green laser beams there on the stream. If you're watching, there's green laser beams running parallel down both sides of the cars, and that's giving a measurement of the angle of tow at the rear. Whether it's towing in or towing out, I'm not sure. Certainly a job that takes a little bit of time. They seem happy with what they've got. The laser equipment has disappeared and the wheels are going back on. So that's good work by the Jutta team. Got a lot of experience now, Johnny. They were very early days of the 24H Creventic series. They were a big part of that, weren't they? Running in that series all around Europe, and over the course of the last, I dare say, almost 10 years, Jutta might have been around. So a very well-drilled, well-choreographed, disciplined team. And endurance racing's all about that. Endurance racing's, there's a lot, obviously it's about going around the track as fast as possible, but it's also about how you address the adversity that endurance and long-distance racing can throw at you, which is pretty much anything at the N24. And as we see there, Johnny, the whatever it was, the component part has been replaced, the car has been realigned, and it's off the jacks and about to get back into this race, the number 8 Audi. Back off the pit apron and back in. Well done, Jutta. Brilliant job.
Yeah, really good turnaround. Clearly they weren't quite expecting the car to come in with that problem, so then you've got to assess it quickly, diagnose, and then have often a pre-plan in how you're going to sort out that repair as quickly as possible. Going back quite some years to the Porsche Carrera Cup GB, Jonas Gelzinis was mightily successful as a sort of pro-am driver, but he got so good he moved into the pro division, took 3 wins in the 2013 division, and he is, I don't want to say he's the team boss, but he's certainly quite influential now at Jutta Racing. And the Gelzinis family used to drive as well as look after that. He's not in the entry this year for the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, but I'm sure Jonas is here somewhere, keeping a watchful eye on that number 8 Audi. And the cooling of the 69 McLaren is certainly something to be wary of as well, just to make sure that there's some cool air flowing into that air intake. Normally, that air is being supplied by the car going very, very fast along somewhere like the Dottinger Hoor. You've got to make sure that the engine doesn't overheat whilst it sits in the pit lane. The other thing is, a lot of these SP9 cars, when you come in to do the pit stop service, you have to turn the engine off, and then you need to rely on it restarting as well. There is a slightly different rule for the turbocharged cars in that I think it says, we'd really, really like you to turn the engine off, but you don't absolutely have to. Whereas if it's a non-turbocharged car, the engine needs to be cut, and then you've got to hope that it restarts.
And the reason why you need the leaf blowers, unlike your road car, we're not driving any kind of cooling fan, not even electric one, because, all right, the old-fashioned style of driving a fan off the crank pulley by a belt, your fan belt, driving the alternator and the cooling fan pulling in air across the radiator while the car remains static. These more modern times, you've got a temperature, a thermostatically controlled electric fan that if the engine reaches a certain temperature, the electric cuts in. We don't really need that on a race car because it's invariably traveling forward through the air most of the time, unless it's sat static on the pit lane. So just to assist in a bit of cooling there, while don't want the engine to start heat soaking and getting too hot, we get the leaf blowers on the cars and get some air through them. Johnny, I picked up a little bit of a bit of an interesting stat, and thanks to Johannes Goglica from the Midweek Motorsport Collective for picking up on this. We've talked about mixed class racing here. In SP4, we've got a car that is actually 25 years old.
Okay.
It's a BMW 325 Ci. It's with the Open Motors Automobile Sport team. It's car 152. From here, I'm going to go and find out where it is in the field. The drivers down to drive it, Ingo Upen, Christian Koger and Henrik Launhardt. We'll find out where that is in the field. But it just shows what you can come and race at the N24. I don't know how long the car's been a race car. It's a car that's been modified from a road car, a street car. But it's just phenomenal that a 25-year-old motor. All right, it's a race car. It gets serviced every time it comes off the track. It's kept virtually new because you're changing the component parts on it all the time. But still, it's very rare you see a 25-year-old car outside of historic racing, of course, here racing for the N24.
You're watching the 54th edition of the ADAC Ravenel 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, and I can officially now turn to Joe Bradley to my right and say, good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
It's a minute past midnight.
Yes, it is. Are we ready for a class update as well, Johnny?
Yeah, we certainly are. You
right,
might need a few moments just to make sure you're in position to do that, and I can give you those few moments by saying that Lucas Stoltz is leading in the number 80 Mercedes from Winward Racing. He only leads by 1.2 seconds, though, over the sister number 3 Mercedes. And then in third place, a great overtake in the not too distant past, actually, from Max Hesse in his Rover Racing BMW. So 99 squeezing into third and now ahead of Christian Krognes, who he was able to overtake on the track. Krognes still going strongly, though, for Volkenhorst Motorsport, as around the outside at Arenberg had to go Jens Klingman, as another car is recovered on the back of a flatbed, and Klingman in his M3 Touring 24H was really, well, we've said that's a big car, but when you put it next to an ADAC HGV, it is tiny. And yeah, the kind of eye line of the two drivers was way out, but Klingman did exactly the right thing, obeying the flags as another pit stop happens for the Dunlop Shod 17 Porsche.
Right, let's have an hourly class update. I'm going to give you all the class leaders, and there's quite a few classes running in the Nürburgring 24 hours. I'll try and get through these as quick as possible. So we'll start with the SP3 class in 150th place. It's car 277. I'm not sure what that car is. In fact, let me get another page up here, Johnny, and then we can go through them.
I can do that bit for you if you want.
No, I've got that. All right. So 150th position for the BMW 318 Ti in SP3. Then we've got to move up the order to find our next class leader, which is way up the order in 120. Say way up the order, still 127th. That's the Strycek-driven car of it's the Opel Corsa, the GS Corsa. That's leading SP2T. Just ahead of it on the road is Tom Coronel. He's in the pits at the moment. He's currently in 126th place. He's leading the alternative fuels number 1 class. There is Tom, and it's an Audi R8 LMS. So that car, I think, is in with a problem, and that might subsequently fall out of this race. So then further forward, 123rd place in the SP4 class, we find the number 152 BMW 325 Ci. That's leading the SP4 class, as we said. Looking for the class leader in SP8